The rest of the country looks at those numbers and says that Labor has any clue about economic management.
Question number 3, Kevin Hague.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister for ACC and asks, can she confirm that staff in ACC's Recovery Independence Service teams receive more or less remuneration dependent on whether the proportion of people receiving weekly compensation is less or more than specified duration targets?
The Honourable Judith Collins.
Mr. Speaker, I have today been advised that within the performance framework for the Recovery Independent Service team, there is a component related to net entries to the long-term claim pool. I've also been advised that the component related to that number is approximately 15% of how a case manager's performance is measured. If a case manager performs well against the other 85% of their targets, they may still be entitled to a performance-based pay increase.
Kevin Hague.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What is the clinical basis for these targets, if any at all?
The Honourable Judith Collins.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think I can answer that because that is very much an operational issue, but I can say that ACC have advised me that they use specialist independent vocational rehabilitation services and clinicians to help people return to their pre-injury occupation wherever possible.
Kevin Hague.
Does the Minister accept that having a financial incentive to terminate claimants' compensation is likely to make case managers more inclined to terminate compensation for more claimants?
The Honourable Judith Collins.
Well, Mr. Speaker, if the member wants to put it like that, I can understand why he would be concerned. But if we can look at it another way, which is a financial incentive to help people get back to independence and back to work, I'd say that was probably a good thing.
Kevin Hague.
What safeguards, if any at all, are there to ensure that staff financial incentives do not lead to clinically inappropriate decisions to terminate compensation?
The Honourable Judith Collins.
Mr. Speaker, I'm advised that ACC uses the specialist independent vocational rehabilitation services and clinicians, and that is obviously these people are independent, and that is quite different from the case managers.
Kevin Hague.
Supplementary. Is she aware that the rates of successful challenges of ACC decisions continue to rise in both the decision review process and in the District Court? And does she agree that is indicative of something badly wrong in ACC decision making?
The Honourable Judith Collins.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think what it does indicate is that the Dispute Resolution Service is clearly quite independent of ACC, as obviously is the District Court, and that there may well be instances, and I've asked ACC previously if they believe that there are instances where there's too many people who are, or too many decisions that are being reversed on the basis that someone's clearly making the wrong decisions and wrong call. And they tell me that these are made by independent clinicians, and actually I think it would be a bad thing actually if every dispute that was sent to, for instance, the Dispute Resolution Service, ACC was upheld. That would tell me that either the service was not independent or that nobody was actually checking to see whether or not people can work.
Kevin Hague.
Supplementary. What other ACC staff or contractors have financial incentives to deny claims or reduce compensation or rehabilitation services to ACC claimants?
The Honourable Judith Collins.
Speaker, I don't have that information.
Kevin Hague.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Has she now received enough information about ACC's disastrous claims management processes to ask the Auditor-General to bring forward her investigation of ACC's claims management processes?
The Honourable Judith Collins.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not actually, I haven't received enough information to do that. I am aware that the Auditor-General is undertaking her review, and I'm prepared to wait for that review.
Point of order, Mr.
Point
Speaker.
of order, Kevin Hague.
I seek leave to table a document. It's a document from ACC in response to an Official Information Act request from a member of the public. It sets out the key performance indicators for staff in the Recovery Independence Service teams.
Leave is sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is no objection. Andrew Little, supplementary question.
Mr Speaker, to the Minister, what incentives are there under the ACC performance framework for Recover Independence Unit staff to ensure that ACC meets its statutory obligations in relation to treatment, compensation and rehabilitation?
The Honourable Judith Collins.
Well, Mr Speaker, if the, I've been advised by ACC that the key performance framework, or the performance framework, relates to 10% of performance against organisational goals, which clearly would include what that member's just asked, 10% against team goals, again, 30% against organisational values, which is clearly those matters he's raised, and 50% against personal goals. And the 50% of personal goals includes 25% case management quality, 10% customer service and 15% net entries to the long-term claim pool.
Andrew Little.
Speaker, how effective is the new regime for vocational rehabilitation, which is intended to assist some claimants to return to work or to recover their independence, given there is a new layer of administration to pay for called lead providers, and frontline service providers are complaining of being paid less and spending less time with claimants?
The Honourable Judith Collins.
Speaker, I'm sorry, could the member repeat his question? I didn't catch
I'd
all
ask
of it.
the member please to do that.
Yes,
Andrew Little.
How effective is the new regime for vocational rehabilitation, which is intended to assist some claimants to return to work, namely to recover their independence, given there is a new layer of administration to pay for called lead providers, and frontline service providers are complaining of being paid less and spending less time with claimants?
The Honourable Judith
Mr
Collins.
Speaker, I've been advised by ACC when I've been around visiting their offices that what's been necessary is to actually bring in lead providers to maintain the quality of assistance that's given in terms of the claimants, because before they had a large number of providers and actually very little ability to supervise the quality, and so it has been, I think, cut down to about 6 lead providers, and that seems to be working quite well.
Question number 4, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Thank you, Mr Speaker.